In the heart of Ikeja, just past the hustle of Allen Avenue and tucked behind a tall, black gate, sat a quiet duplex that almost whispered its secrets. Inside that house lived Taif Martins, the only daughter of Chief and Madam Martins, owners of a successful construction firm. Taif was beautiful in a quiet way, reserved, smart, polished. She never smiled for cameras, but her dimples showed when she spoke to old people or street vendors. Rare, fleeting moments of softness. She was home from the UK after completing her master's degree in international relations. Her return had stirred a buzz in the neighborhood, especially among the estate boys. But none of them mattered to her. What did catch her attention, though, unexpectedly, was the gateman. He came 2 weeks after she arrived. Tall, dark-skinned, well-built but never loud. People called him Gambo, but his real name was Ibrahim. His eyes rarely met anyone's directly, except when he spoke the words, "Good morning, Ma." At first, Taif ignored him, but she noticed things. He swept the compound before the others woke. He fixed the broken lock on the back gate without being asked. One rainy evening, when she came home drenched, he ran out from the gate post and held an umbrella over her head without saying a word. She looked at him that night, really looked. There was something different about him. One morning, as Taif stepped out for her morning jog, she found Ibrahim reading a tattered book behind the gate. She paused. "You read?" He stood quickly, embarrassed. "Yes, Ma. Just small." She tilted her head, curious. "What's the title?" He handed it over shyly. "Things Fall Apart." She smiled faintly. "That's not small. That was the first conversation." That night, Taif sat in her room and replayed the moment in her head. His voice, his posture, his awkward honesty. There was something unnervingly real about him, and it bothered her more than it should. But what she didn't know was that Ibrahim was not who he appeared to be. And someone close was watching both of them very closely. The following week, things began to shift. Taif found herself waking up a little earlier, jogging a little slower, and somehow her route always ended near the gate, where Ibrahim was sweeping the leaves like a man with a quiet war in his heart. One morning, she brought him tea. "Just to say thank you," she said, handing him the warm flask. "For the umbrella the other night." Ibrahim blinked. He looked at her, truly looked, and for the first time smiled. It was soft, genuine, almost unsure of itself. "Thank you, Ma." "Taif. Call me Taif." He hesitated. "I can't. You are Madam's daughter." She shrugged. "And you're a human being." That evening, her mother noticed the change. "You're always at the gate now. What's there?" Madam Martins asked over dinner. "Fresh air," Taif replied, without looking up. Her mother narrowed her eyes. Don't let me hear nonsense." Oh. 3 nights later, Taif couldn't sleep. She sat on the balcony with a blanket and watched the rain fall. Below, she spotted movement by the gatehouse. Ibrahim, again shirt off, drying his soaked clothes. Without thinking, she called down. "Do you always sleep this close to the rain?" He looked up. "I'm used to it." "Do you have family?" He was silent for a moment. "Not anymore." And then, just as she was about to ask more, the gate intercom rang. A voice crackled through. "Open the gate. Open the gate this minute." It was Chief Martins, Taif's father. By morning, everything had changed. Chief Martins stood in the living room, holding a printed photo, Taif's picture, and Ibrahim's. She was laughing in it, handing him something. A captured moment from the security camera. "What is this?" Chief asked coldly. "Nothing," Taif said. "A conversation." "With a gateman?" "His name is Ibrahim," she snapped. But her father wasn't listening. "Fire him," he told the house manager. "Today." Taif's eyes widened. "You can't." "I just did." But when the guards went to his post, Ibrahim was gone. Gate open. Room empty. Uniform folded. No note. Only one thing left behind, the worn copy of Things Fall Apart, with a name handwritten on the back cover. Ibrahim Oladimeji Adeyemo. Taif stood staring at the name. She whispered it, again and again. And in that moment, she realized something. He had disappeared before. And this time, she had no idea if he was ever coming back. Taif didn't eat, didn't sleep. For 2 days, she sat in her room staring at the cover of the book he left behind. The name Ibrahim Oladimeji Adeyemo rang through her mind like a drum. Who was he? Why did he run? And why did he leave the one thing he clearly loved? On the 3rd day, she made a decision. She called her cousin Teo, a self-proclaimed data ninja who worked at a tech firm in Lekki. If anyone could find someone who didn't want to be found, it was him. Ibrahim Oladimeji Adeyemo, she said. Teo frowned. Who is he? Just someone I need to find. Teo raised an eyebrow. Romantic or revenge? Taif sighed. I don't know yet. 2 days later, Teo called. You won't believe this, he said. Your guy isn't a gateman. What? He's a graduate of Unilag. First class. Mechanical engineering. Taif's heart skipped. That's not even the wildest part, Teo added. He was offered a scholarship abroad. Germany. But he vanished after NYSC. No job history. No social media. Ghost mode. Taif couldn't breathe. So why was he working as a gateman? I was going to ask you that. Meanwhile, across town, Ibrahim stood in a cramped boys' quarters, staring at an envelope. Inside were 2 things: a letter marked confidential, Martin's group files, a faded picture of a young boy standing beside Chief Martin's, and his late business partner. The boy was him. Ibrahim clenched his jaw. They think I don't know, he whispered. Back at the Martins' house, Taif sat in her room when her phone vibrated. A message. No name. Just a number. You're looking for answers, Taif. But some answers come with a price. Her hands trembled. Ibrahim. She ran to the gate. But of course he wasn't there. Just the cold, empty silence of a house that used to feel like home, until a stranger in a uniform made her question everything. And now, the more she searched, the more she wondered, what exactly did Ibrahim know about her father? Rain slammed against the Martins' mansion like war drums. Taif stood in her room, Ibrahim's message still glowing on her phone screen. Some answers come with a price. She hadn't told anyone, not even Teo. Instead, she locked her door and stared at her father's office across the hall. There were rooms in the house you weren't allowed to question. But tonight, her curiosity had claws. She waited until midnight, then tiptoed across the hallway and picked the lock to Chief Martin's home office. She'd seen him type the code before 1965, his birth year. Click. Inside. Mahogany shelves, dusty frames, certificates, and thick files lined in iron drawers. But it was the small safe behind the family portrait that pulled her attention. She didn't know the passcode, but something made her try the name. Adeyemo. Click. It opened. Inside were contracts, a bundle of cash, and one red folder labeled Northeast Merger 2010. Witness signature. Oladimeji Adeyemo. Her eyes widened. Oladimeji. Ibrahim's father? She read faster. The documents revealed land rights, steel contracts, ownership splits. There had been 2 equal founders of Martins Engineering, Chief Martins and Oladimeji Adeyemo. But something happened in 2012. A signature removed. Clause changed. Chief Martins became sole owner. And Oladimeji Adeyemo? Reported dead in a car accident. No investigation. Taif stumbled back. Ibrahim hadn't been her gateman by accident. He came to that gate with a reason. He was watching the man who took everything from his family. Her father. Across Lagos, Ibrahim stood by the water, hood up, staring into the dark. A voice behind him spoke. You're not ready for this. He turned. It was an old man, gray-bearded, face hard from life. Ibrahim nodded slowly. He took everything from my father. Everything. You think I'll just walk away? The old man handed him a leather file. When you open this, you start a war. Are you sure you're ready? Ibrahim looked down at the file, then looked back at the man who'd raised him in hiding. I've waited 10 years. It's time. Back in Ikeja, Taif sat on her bed, the red folder shaking in her lap. She sent a message. I know the truth. Tell me where to meet you. Taif. It delivered. No reply, but she didn't need one. She knew now. Ibrahim was never the gateman. He was the storm waiting at the gate. Saturday came with silence. No generator hum, no shouting of drivers. Just the stillness of a house holding its breath. Taif sat in the living room with the red folder in her lap. Unread pages still inside, but her heart already shattered. Across from her, Chief Martins sat in a white buba, sipping tea like the world wasn't cracking beneath their feet. I need to ask you something, Taif said. He looked up, calm. Go ahead. She held the folder tightly. Who is Oladimeji Adeyemo? He blinked. That was all. No shock. No denial. Just blink. He was my business partner, Chief said. A long time ago. He died. How? Chief hesitated. Car accident. Taif stared at him. The documents say you changed the company ownership after he died. That you removed his signature and took it all. Chief's hand froze over his tea. I don't know where you got that. I got it, she said quietly. From the son of the man you buried in lies. That evening, as the sun slipped below the Lagos skyline, the compound's gates buzzed. The new gateman peeked through the lens. Madam. Someone is at the gate. Taif stood and walked to the monitor. There he was. Ibrahim. He stood in a black hoodie. No bags, no umbrella. Just himself. Her heart stumbled inside her chest. She walked to the gate. Opened it slowly. He said nothing. She said nothing. Then, why did you come back? I didn't come back, he said. I came to finish it. Her face stiffened. Finish what? Ibrahim looked at her, eyes darker than she remembered. My father was forced to sign over everything while he lay dying. No investigation. No justice. My mother, she died 2 years later. Poverty took her faster than the sickness did. Taif blinked hard. You wanted revenge. I did. Is that why you took the job? He nodded. But then I met you. A pause. I came for blood, he said. But I found something else. Something that made me question everything I thought I knew. Taif stepped forward. So what happens now? Ibrahim looked at her for a long time. Eyes searching hers like she was a question he didn't expect to ask himself. I have proof. I can destroy your father. Taif swallowed. And if you do? He looked away. I lose you. The gate stayed open between them. Not just physically, emotionally. The story of them had been rewritten now. It wasn't girl meets boy. It was daughter of the thief meets son of the betrayed. Taif said quietly, what if I don't want to be protected anymore? What if I want to help you finish what he started? The right way. Ibrahim looked up, startled. You'd go against your own father? She took a breath. I'd go for the truth. Above them, the sky darkened. And deep inside the house, Chief Martins stood by the window watching them. Eyes cold, face unreadable. Because he had secrets even deeper than what Taif had found. And if they were digging, he was ready to bury them. 3 days after Ibrahim's return, the Martins' house was no longer quiet. Taif hadn't spoken to her father since that evening. She avoided eye contact. Meals were skipped. But she knew he knew. And that was what scared her. Because men like Chief Martins didn't confront. They controlled. At exactly 10 a.m., Taif received a phone call. Private number. She answered. Hello. A cold voice replied. Miss Martins. Your boyfriend is playing with fire. And fire burns everything, even diamonds. Click. Her hands shook. She looked out the window. A black SUV she didn't recognize pulled away from across the street. Meanwhile, Ibrahim sat in a small flat in Surulere, poring over the final documents his late guardian had left behind. There it was, the original company deed signed by both Oladimeji Adeyemo and Samuel Martins. But attached to it was a small note. Son, if you ever choose to expose this, do it through the courts. Not blood. That's how we rise different. Ibrahim exhaled. The war wasn't just against Chief Martins. It was against the version of himself that wanted revenge. That night, Taif came to him in secret. She wore a hoodie, No makeup, just fire in her eyes. I want us to go public with this. Ibrahim blinked. Taif, this could destroy your family's name. She stepped closer. My father already destroyed the truth. I'm just digging it back up. He looked at her. You really love me that much? I don't know what this is, Ibrahim, she said honestly. But I know it's real, and I'm tired of pretending it isn't. Then, without warning, her phone buzzed again. Another private number. This time a photo came through. It was her mother shopping at a supermarket. A red circle had been drawn around her. What is this? Taif gasped. Ibrahim grabbed the phone. No message. Just that photo. A silent threat. He stared into her eyes. This isn't just business anymore. No, she whispered. It never was. The next morning, the Martins' family lawyer resigned. No explanation. Just a letter left on the doorstep. An hour later, the driver quit too. Then the cook. By noon, only the new gateman remained. That's when Chief Martins called a family meeting. Only 2 people showed up, him and Taif. He sipped his wine slowly. Do you know why you're here? Taif sat stiffly. I know everything. Chief nodded. You think you're ready for the truth. But you're not. He pulled out a single envelope and slid it across the table. This is the real secret. Taif opened it slowly and froze. Inside was a birth certificate. Her birth certificate. But the name under mother wasn't her mother's name. It was Zainab Adeyemo. She looked up, shaking. Ibrahim's mother? Chief Martins leaned back and smiled faintly. You didn't just fall in love with the son of the man I destroyed. You fell in love with your own brother. Taif sat frozen, the paper trembling in her hands. Zainab Adeyemo. Mother. No, she whispered. Chief Martins leaned back, swirling his wine like it was all just business. I tried to protect you. You were never supposed to know. Taif's voice cracked. Ibrahim is my half-brother, he cut in. The word echoed through her skull. Brother. She stood up suddenly. This is not true. You're lying. Chief said nothing. Why now? She demanded. Why are you showing me this now? He gave her a long look. Because the moment you chose him, I knew I'd have to break you. She ran out of the house, heart pounding. Into the rain. Into her car. Into the streets of Lagos. Straight to Ibrahim's flat. He opened the door the moment she knocked, shocked at her soaked clothes and wild eyes. Taif? She shoved the certificate into his chest. He read it and froze, then looked at her and said nothing. Silence. Then softly he said, Zainab Adeyemo is my mother. Taif stepped back, her world caving in. He added, But you are not her daughter. What? I don't know what that man gave you, Ibrahim said carefully. But Zainab never had a second child. She died 6 months after I turned 9. She was buried in Zaria. I was there. Taif blinked. But the certificate? Forged, he said. Or planted. Taif collapsed onto the couch, tears pouring now. So, what is he playing at? Ibrahim sat beside her. He's trying to break us from the inside, because he knows we're getting too close to the truth. And what is the truth, Ibrahim? He opened his drawer and handed her a brown envelope. Inside, DNA test results. I already suspected he might try this, he said. I ran a quiet test last week. Between you and me. No match. We're not related. Taif sobbed. Not from sadness, from relief. That night, the sky over Lagos cracked with thunder. At the Martins' mansion, Chief stood on the balcony, staring out into the darkness. His lawyer gone. His daughter against him. The past coming back like a flood. Behind him, a soft voice spoke. You've done it now, said Madame Martins, holding the forged certificate in her hand. He turned to face his wife. You were supposed to burn it, he said. She stared at him. And let your sins destroy her completely? She chose him, he muttered. She chose love, Madame Martins replied. Something you've never understood. The next morning, a black envelope was delivered to Channel's TV. Inside, Leaked documents, voice recordings, company ownership fraud, a death certificate with falsified dates. Headline broke by 3 p.m. Martin's group under fire. Late partner's son seeks legal redemption. Ibrahim hadn't just returned for love. He returned for justice. And now the world was watching. By the next morning, it was everywhere. Headlines, WhatsApp groups, Twitter threads. Billionaire family accused of corporate theft and cover-up. Martin's engineering founded on fraud? Mysterious whistleblower identified as former Gateman. At the center of it all, Ibrahim Adeyemo, the quiet man who once opened gates, now holding the key to a company worth billions. Chief Martin's paced in his study, phone ringing nonstop. Every contact in his network, governors, bank managers, board members, now whispered the same thing. Fix this before it becomes criminal. But the true storm came at noon. A man in a navy blue suit entered the Martins' compound. He introduced himself as Barrister Ifeanyi Okeke, representative of the Corporate Justice Tribunal. "I'm here to deliver a formal request," he said coolly. "The son of your late partner has filed for legal claim. Full investigation opens in 7 days." Chief said nothing. The lawyer placed a file on the table. Inside, a bold title, Petition for Partial Ownership, 47.5% claim. "Your daughter's name is also listed as a silent witness," the lawyer added, "which means this is more than legal. It's personal." Across town, Ibrahim sat in the living room of a private legal firm. A tall woman in glasses, his lead counsel, handed him a letter. "Martin's group just made an offer," she said. He opened it slowly. 500 million Nigerian nairas. "To drop the case and disappear," she explained. "No court, no noise, just vanish." Taif, sitting beside him, read it too. Ibrahim's hand trembled slightly. "That's more than your father ever earned in his life," the lawyer said gently. "You could start again, anywhere." But Ibrahim's face was stone. He looked at Taif, then said, "And how do I explain to his ghost that I sold justice for comfort?" Back at the Martins' house, Madame Martins walked into her husband's office with 2 wine glasses. She poured him a drink, then herself. "You've lost her," she said simply. Chief sipped his wine without blinking. "She'll come around." "She won't. And this time she shouldn't." He turned to her slowly. "You're on their side now?" "I'm on the side of peace," she said. "But you're too proud to ask for forgiveness." "I built this life with my hands," he growled. "I won't let a boy who smells of gate dust take it from me." She raised her glass. "Then prepare to lose everything." That night, Taif and Ibrahim stood by the lagoon, away from cameras, away from the world. She looked up at him. "You're doing the right thing." "I don't want to win just for revenge," he said. "I want to win for my mother. She died believing in honor. I can't bury that with a bribe." She smiled softly. "So, what happens to us after the war?" He looked into her eyes. "We survive it." She leaned into him. "Promise." "I swear." But as they embraced, a red laser dot landed briefly on Ibrahim's back, then disappeared. And from a black car parked across the street, a man made a call. He refused the money. We moved to phase 2. The Martins' compound was unusually quiet the next day. Even the birds in the guava tree seemed to sense the shift in the air. Taif had just finished a Zoom call with her friend in Canada when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. A soft, accented voice said, "Your boy thinks he's untouchable. But even birds can fall when they fly too high. Watch your steps, madam." Click. Across town, Ibrahim was reviewing papers at the law office when a junior clerk rushed in, breathless. "Sir, someone just tried to break into our storage unit. The files with the original documents are missing." "What?" Ibrahim stood, heart racing. "But we had a backup in the safe," the clerk added quickly. Still, Ibrahim's hands were clenched. He knew this was only the beginning. That night, as Taif drove back to her flat in Lekki, a black Toyota Corolla tailed her for more than 5 minutes. She switched lanes. It followed. She sped up, kept pace. Then suddenly her tire exploded. Her car skidded wildly and crashed into a drainage barrier. Airbags deployed. Horns blared. People ran over. The Corolla didn't stop. It just vanished into the night. Ibrahim arrived at the hospital less than an hour later. Taif had minor injuries, a sprained wrist and a gash above her eyebrow. But she was alive. "Whoever did this," she whispered from the bed. "They weren't trying to kill me, just scare me." Ibrahim nodded silently, rage storming in his chest. "But they touched you," he said. "That's enough." Back in Ikeja, Chief Martins received a message. "She survived. But next time we won't miss." He didn't respond. He poured himself a drink and walked out to the balcony. The night was humid. Lagos was glowing in the distance. Madame Martins joined him quietly. "Whatever you think you're controlling," she said, "it's out of your hands now." He looked at her, eyes tired for the first time. "I know." Meanwhile, Ibrahim met with his legal team. "We fast-tracked the lawsuit," he said. "Media coverage, full exposure. We don't back down. But if this gets more dangerous, let them come," he said coldly. "Let them all come." That evening, while the sun sank into the Lagos skyline, Taif received a small package at her doorstep. No name, no address. She opened it slowly. Inside was a torn photo. Half of it was her mother holding a baby. The other half had been burned. But on the back was a note written in red ink. "Do you really know who your mother is?" She clutched the photo, a chill running down her spine, because for the first time, she realized the enemy might not just be her father. Taif couldn't sleep. She held the torn photo in her hands, staring at the image of her mother holding a baby. But it wasn't her baby photo. She was sure of it. Her mother had always kept a tight-lipped silence about the past. No childhood pictures. No stories from before she married Chief Martins. Every question was met with, "That was a long time ago. Let the past rest." But now the past refused to stay buried. The next morning, Taif visited her mother in her private sitting room, a place she rarely entered. Framed photos, prayer books, a hidden kind of peace. Madame Martins looked up, startled. "Taif!" Taif sat down gently and slid the photo across the table. "Who is this?" Her mother stared at it. Long silence. Then, finally, a whisper. "Where did you find this?" "It came in a box. No name. Just this note. Do you really know who your mother is?" Her mother closed her eyes, then said the one thing Taif never expected. "That baby was your sister." Taif froze. "What? She didn't survive," Madame Martins whispered. "She died as an infant, before you were born." "Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because your father didn't want anyone to know she existed." Taif's voice cracked. "Why?" Madame Martins looked her dead in the eyes. "Because she wasn't his." That night, Taif stood on the balcony with Ibrahim and told him everything. "Her name was Chidinma," she said, tears silently sliding down her cheeks. "She died before I was born. My mother had her for another man, before she met my father." Ibrahim was quiet for a moment, then said, "It means they've both been hiding things. All of them." Taif nodded. "And whoever sent that photo, they know more." Across town, a woman sat in a dark room, laptop open. She zoomed into the old family photo from Martins Engineering's earliest days. For men in suits. But in the corner, almost hidden, stood a young woman holding a baby. The woman on the laptop zoomed again. Her lips curled. "You thought you buried the truth, Madame Martins. But I'm still breathing." Back at the Martins mansion, Madame Martins stood alone at the mirror. Her fingers shook as she touched the picture of Chidinma taped to the frame. Behind her, Chief Martins entered. "You told her. She deserved to know." Chief's voice turned cold. "You're undoing everything we built." "No," she whispered. "You did that the day you turned love into property." Later that night, Taif's doorbell rang. She opened it slowly, expecting maybe Ibrahim or a courier. But it wasn't either. It was a woman in a long black dress with eyes full of storms. "I'm sorry to show up unannounced," the woman said softly. But I'm the nurse who delivered your sister. And I have a story to tell. The woman sat quietly on Taif's couch, her eyes scanning every inch of the home like it held echoes from decades ago. I know this house, she said. I worked here, before it became what it is now. Taif watched her cautiously. You said you delivered my sister? The woman nodded. Her name was Chidinma, born in a small clinic in Festac. 1993. Your mother was rushed in alone. No husband, no driver, just pain and silence. She paused, then added, but the baby didn't die. Taif's body jerked forward. What? The woman reached into her purse and pulled out an old photo. A tiny baby wrapped in a pink blanket. On the back, written in faded ink, Chidinma, April 3, 1993, 3.2 kilograms. I held her, the nurse said. She was healthy, breathing strong. But before morning came, she was gone. Taif whispered, Gone how? Your mother was unconscious from blood loss. When she woke up, she was told the child had died. But I know what I saw. The baby was taken, not buried. Taif's legs gave out. She sat down, trembling. But why would they do that? The nurse looked at her, sorrow in her eyes. I think your father found out, and he didn't want any evidence left behind. At that moment, the door creaked open. Ibrahim stepped in, eyes flicking from the stranger to Taif. She quickly filled him in. When she finished, Ibrahim turned to the nurse. Do you have proof? The woman hesitated, then handed him a copy of a hospital transfer record. One line stood out. Infant female transferred to St. Mercy Orphanage, Mushin. No maternal consent. Time, 2:13 a.m. Taif covered her mouth. So, my sister is alive? The nurse nodded. And if she is, she'd be 32 now. The next day, Taif and Ibrahim drove to the orphanage. It had changed owners, moved buildings, but the old record books remained, buried in dust. They flipped through pages until they found it. Chidinma renamed Deborah. Adopted 1995. Adoptive parents, Pastor and Mrs. Ogene. New name, Deborah Ogene. Ibrahim looked up slowly. That name sounds familiar. Taif's voice shook. You know her? He blinked. Deborah Ogene is a lawyer. She was on a viral TEDx talk last year, Women Who Rise from Dust. She runs a human rights NGO. Taif stared. Her long-lost sister was alive, powerful, and had no idea she'd been stolen from her mother. That night, Taif sat on her balcony, wind in her hair, mind racing. I have a sister, she whispered to herself. She's alive. Behind her, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. A photo, this time of Deborah standing outside her office. And underneath, a caption in red text. You found her, but if you don't back off, she'll disappear again. Taif's hand dropped. Ibrahim came running when he saw her expression. She handed him the phone. His jaw tightened. They're watching us. She looked into his eyes. Then let them, because now I have something worth fighting for. The next morning, Taif stood in front of the mirror. She stared at herself for a long time. Not just at her face, but at her eyes. They weren't just hers anymore. She imagined her sister, Deborah, staring into her own mirror somewhere across Lagos, unaware that a stranger was staring back with the same blood. By 10 a.m., they were parked outside Deborah Ogene's Human Rights Office in Yaba. A simple signboard read, Her Voice Foundation Legal Aid for Women in Crisis. Inside, everything looked purposeful. Interns typing, volunteers answering calls, files stacked neatly on every desk. And then there she was, Deborah. She walked past the front desk in a navy blue dress and heels, her afro pinned up, her eyes focused, commanding. Taif stood frozen. She looked like Madame Martin's, the same cheekbones, the same walk, and something else too, a quiet fire. Ibrahim touched Taif's shoulder. Are you okay? Taif nodded slowly. I don't know. They waited in the reception. When Deborah finally called them into her office, she had no idea what storm they were about to bring. Good morning, I'm told you requested to speak with me directly. Yes, Taif said softly. My name is Taif Martins. This is Ibrahim Adeyemo. Something shifted in Deborah's posture. You're the people on the news. Yes, Taif continued. But that's not why we're here. She placed the photo on the desk, the one of her mother holding the baby. Then the hospital records, the transfer papers, the truth, and finally the DNA kit. Deborah's face didn't change, but her eyes went cold. What is this? Taif breathed in deeply. I think you're my sister. I think your name at birth was Chidinma. My mother is your mother too. Silence. Dead silence. Deborah stood up slowly. I don't know what kind of stunt this is, but I don't play with trauma victims or use family sob stories for social leverage. This isn't a stunt, Ibrahim said gently. Please, just take the test. Let the truth speak. Deborah's voice dropped. You think I don't get this every month? Someone claiming to be family, waving documents around. Taif's hands trembled. I'm not asking you to believe me, she whispered. I'm just asking you to give me a chance. 3 days passed. No calls. No texts. Then finally an email. Subject. Test result. Message. I did the test. Results arrived. Come alone. Taif arrived at the rooftop cafe Deborah had listed in the message. The moment she walked in, she saw her. Deborah sat at the corner table, test envelope untouched on the table. Taif walked over slowly. Deborah slid it across the table. You open it, she said. Taif's hands shook as she tore the envelope. Then she read the words that changed everything. Probability of full sibling match. 99.997%. Silence. Deborah exhaled, then whispered, All my life, I thought I was alone. Tears slipped from Taif's eyes. You weren't. You never were. They leaned into each other, forehead to forehead, and the city below faded into nothing. But just as peace touched them, a gunshot cracked in the distance. People screamed. Taif ducked. Deborah grabbed her arm. Get down. Waiters scattered. Glass shattered. A message popped on Taif's phone. Just 5 words. We warned you. Too late. The rooftop cafe erupted in chaos. People scrambled beneath tables. Chairs overturned. A waiter screamed as glass rained down from a shattered window. Taif crouched behind a marble pillar, her body trembling. Beside her, Deborah clutched her hand, whispering, Stay with me. Don't move. Another shot rang out. Then silence. And then, the hum of a motorbike speeding off, tires screeching into the traffic of Yaba below. Security guards stormed the rooftop seconds later. No one had been hit, but the message had been received. Loud, clear, deadly. 30 minutes later, police officers swarmed the building. Witnesses gave shaky statements. The rooftop was sealed off. Inside an unmarked car parked across the street, Ibrahim held Taif's face in both hands. You're okay? He asked softly. She nodded slowly, then looked at Deborah. You could have been killed. Deborah crossed her arms, still shaken. Apparently, being related to you comes with bullets. Ibrahim spoke up. This wasn't just a warning anymore. This was a hit. Later that night, the Martins' mansion was lit but quiet. Chief Martins stood by the window, watching the rain blur the glass. Madame Martins entered, slowly. You heard about the shooting? I did, he said, voice flat. And yet you say nothing? He turned to her. They're dragging our name through the gutter. What would you have me do? Applaud them? She stared at him, eyes dark. You didn't order it? Did you? Silence. Then, no, Chief Martins replied. But I may have unleashed someone who did. Meanwhile, at Deborah's apartment, she sat beside Taif on the couch, neither of them talking. Then, finally, I wasn't ready to care about anyone, Deborah said. But now I've found you and I don't know how to be a sister. Taif took her hand. Me neither. But I think we can learn. A knock came at the door. Ibrahim answered it. A courier handed him a sealed brown envelope with no return address. Inside was a flash drive and a note. If you want peace, Listen. If you want war, ignore. Back at his flat, they plugged it into Ibrahim's laptop. A video loaded. Grainy footage. A hospital room. A man tied to a bed, bruised and gasping. A voice off camera asked, "Did you sign over the company willingly?" The man shook his head. "No. They forced me." Taif leaned forward. "Is that?" Ibrahim nodded. "My father." The voice asked again. "Who forced you?" The man coughed, barely breathing. "Martins, and a man in military uniform, said it was either my family or the company." Then the screen went black. Ibrahim clenched his fists. "They didn't just rob us. They terrorized him." Deborah's face went pale. "A man in uniform?" "Yes," Ibrahim said. "And that uniform had a patch. I recognized the logo." He pulled up a government database on his phone, scrolled through, then stopped. A cold, hollow stillness filled the room. On the screen was the crest of a retired general, now a political candidate and Chief Martin's oldest friend. Taif whispered, "We're not fighting a man anymore. We're fighting a system." The room was silent, save for the humming of the laptop fan. Taif stared at the name on the screen. General Raymond Ekin, RTD. Former Army Chief. Current Senate candidate, Lagos Central. Ibrahim zoomed in on an old article. There he was, standing proudly beside Chief Martins, shaking hands at a company event. Below it, the headline read, "From Military Command to Corporate Boardroom. How Retired General Ekin Partners with Martins Engineering." Deborah leaned forward. "That's the man in the video?" Ibrahim nodded. "Same voice. Same face." Taif whispered, "That's the man who threatened your father. The one who helped my dad steal everything." The next day, Deborah pulled every legal string she had. She filed for a motion to protect the video evidence under whistleblower security. But she knew what it meant. They were going after a man with political immunity, military backing, and billions in silent allies. And in Nigeria, that meant war. Meanwhile, at General Ekin's private estate in Ikoyi, the retired soldier poured himself a drink. He stood in front of a floor-length window, watching the city stretch like prey. Chief Martin stood behind him, tense. "You promised me this would stay buried," Ekin said without turning. "I didn't know the boy had footage, or that he'd find Zainab's daughter." "Then I suggest," Ekin said darkly, "you start preparing a coffin, because if this leaks, we both burn." Later that night, Ibrahim received another message. Anonymous. Just one line. "You have 72 hours. Or she vanishes." Attached was a live photo of Deborah, walking into her office. Someone was tailing her. Ibrahim didn't sleep that night. By morning, they moved Deborah into a safe apartment. 2 private security guards. Burner phone. No public movement. Taif stayed with her, refusing to leave. Meanwhile, Ibrahim met with a journalist from an international news agency. Someone with no local loyalties and no reason to be bought. He slid the flash drive across the table. "This video will start a fire," the reporter said. "Are you sure you're ready for that?" Ibrahim answered without blinking. "Let it burn." On the same night, Madame Martins visited Deborah for the first time. No guards, no press, just her and a small photo album. "I brought this," she said, voice trembling. "You may not want it, but you deserve to know what you were taken from." Deborah opened the first page. Baby shoes, a lock of hair, a name tag, Chidinma Martins. She swallowed hard. "Why didn't you fight for me?" Madame Martins whispered. "Because I was married to a man who made sure I couldn't. But not anymore." Just then, the power flickered. Then the building went dark. Security ran to the windows. A black SUV had parked in front of the gate. 4 men stepped out. No plates. All holding radios. Ibrahim's phone rang. "Leave the building," a voice said. "Now." He looked at Taif and Deborah. "Get your shoes. We're not safe." But as they tried to escape down the stairwell, a smoke bomb burst from the bottom floor. Screams echoed. Deborah choked on the gas. Taif grabbed her hand. "Upstairs," Ibrahim shouted. "Roof exit." They pushed through the smoke, climbed for flights, coughing, stumbling, until they reached the rooftop helipad of the office building next door. And waiting at the top, a single figure stood in the shadows. He removed his cap. It was General Enkay. He looked straight at Ibrahim. "I warned you, boy. Now you've brought the war to your woman's doorstep." Ibrahim clenched his fists. "You think this scares me?" Enkay stepped forward. "No, son. This is just the beginning. The next bullet won't miss." The rooftop wind howled around them. Ibrahim stood firm, shielding Taif and Deborah behind him. General Enkay didn't blink. "I told you to walk away," the general said calmly, hands behind his back. "But you came for justice. And justice doesn't survive in Lagos." Ibrahim's voice was low, steady. "You killed my father. I preserved your father's dignity," Enkay snapped. "A man who wouldn't sell, who wouldn't bow. He chose his fate. You forced it. Because that company was never meant for him," Enkay hissed. "We built Nigeria's backbone, not some idealist with dreams. We built power." He stepped closer. "But you could have had it all. You were in the house. You ate our food. You even took his daughter." Taif's voice rang out, clear and loud. "I chose him, not you." Enkay smirked, then raised his hand. A sniper laser glinted red on Ibrahim's chest. And just then, a gunshot rang out. But not from the sniper. Enkay's eyes widened. He stumbled. Blood seeped through his white kaftan. He dropped to his knees. Behind him, Madame Martin stood, hand trembling, pistol clutched. "You destroyed one daughter," she whispered. "I won't let you take the other." Enkay collapsed. Sirens wailed in the distance. Security forces poured in. Police, media, everything. The rooftop turned into a battlefield of flashing lights. A week later, General Enkay's death shook the nation. Secret files were leaked. Offshore accounts. Fake contracts. Chief Martins was arrested for fraud, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to commit murder. The Martins' empire? Frozen. The name? Cracked. But out of the ashes, something new was born. 1 month later, on a quiet Sunday morning in Lagos, the small courtroom was packed. Ibrahim stood at the front, dressed in a clean blue suit. He was no longer a gateman. He was now CEO of Adeyemo Martins Engineering Ltd., a new company formed from the ashes of betrayal. Beside him, Deborah, now legal partner and NGO director, held the final deed in her hands. And then, Taif entered, in a soft cream dress. They smiled at each other. She whispered, "You didn't just fight for your father. You fought for all of us." He replied, "I didn't lose my dignity. I gained my family." The judge signed the papers. Ibrahim stepped forward and made one final statement. "For years I stood behind gates, quiet, invisible. But now, I stand beside giants, because love made me fearless, and truth made me free." The courtroom applauded. Epilogue. 1 year later, a modest compound in Lekki. A baby's laughter echoed through the garden. Taif rocked her child gently while Ibrahim kissed her forehead. Deborah's NGO now defended thousands of women in hidden corners of Nigeria. And Madame Martins? She left Lagos, bought a small school in Ibadan. She finally found peace. They called it a scandal. They called it revenge. But at the end of it all, they called it love. Because the man who opened the gate became the man who walked through the door of destiny. Ring from gateman to husband. The end.